Welcome back, everyone. As usual, there is no shortage of news coming out of Washington. Tonight, we are joined by newly sworn-in Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, who is joining us from her home in Tucson. Congresswoman Grijalva, thank you so much for joining us. How does it feel to finally be official?
It's great. We're able to actually sign a lease, open up services in district, start to onboard staff, official emails getting out. I think that this is what we've been waiting for, to be able to finally provide services in district. So I'm very happy that we're here.
If it were me, steam would still be coming out of my ears that it took so long for me to be sworn in. Are you angry about this or no?
I was frustrated, very frustrated, and still am, because, people still needed services throughout the time. So from September 23rd to the date of my swearing in, we had several hundred requests for constituent services that we still don't have yet, because we just got government emails. And so from the time of my swearing in to today, we have 43 requests for services. So the need has been consistent, and the fact that Speaker Johnson, just continued to push off my swearing in and obstructing it, there were real consequences here in Tucson and in District 7.
Well, now that you're seated, what would you do or say that would prevent the next congressman or congresswoman coming in from having their swearing in blocked or delayed? Is there anything that can be done?
I think that there are bipartisan legislation. I feel like my example would be a good one to use as, if this was the longest delay at 50 days, what will happen next time to the next person who's duly elected and deserves to have their voice in Congress, in the district, and that over 800,000 people that elected them or sent them to Congress deserve to have that representation. And so I'm hoping that very shortly we're going to have access to legal services in order to be able to push forward all of the verbiage in the law and get co-sponsors. Because I think that it's really important that I be the last one that ever has to go through anything like this again. We should learn from the experience, my experience in Southern Arizona, experience in waiting for representation in Congress.
Today, we're learning that the Pentagon is considering taking action against Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, former Navy commander, a fighter pilot, astronaut, and it could include recalling him for active duty so that he could be court-martialed for taking part in a video that tells military members that they don't have to follow illegal orders. Last week, the president even threatened that they could execute those people for sedition. How concerning is that for you?
It's incredibly concerning. Senator Kelly served this country with distinction, continues to do so in the Senate. And the fact that this administration is targeting, in a very politically biased way, a duly elected senator who has the absolute right to tell the truth about this administration and really tell people that are serving the way he did that you don't have to abide by illegal direction. Not only, it wasn't just him, there were other senators and representatives that joined in that effort, that they can refuse illegal directions. They absolutely can. And, this administration targeting someone like, Senator Kelly is going to use every means available to push back on this administration, and I'm proud that he's my senator.
Millions of Americans on government assistance and SNAP had their benefits in limbo during the shutdown, which could happen again in the not-so-distant future. Should the welfare of so many Americans ever be caught in this kind of a tug of war, and is there anything that could be done about that?
Absolutely not. Threatening people's livelihood, literally their lives, by cutting off resources and access to food should never happen. It should be codified into law that those benefits go out just like they do for Social Security and other guaranteed benefits. The people should not have to worry about whether they're going to have food. And let's think about it. This is the first administration where that's been the case. And I think one of the reasons why is because we continue to have these incredibly long shutdowns. So I was elected 5 days before the shutdown. Why was Congress dark? Why was the House dark when the Senate voted against the clean CR sent over by the House Why weren't we negotiating a solution before the shutdown?
Why?
It was
Well,
something that I
then
asked Speaker
I'll
Johnson
ask you
directly.
why. Why weren't they?
I asked Speaker Johnson the question directly. Like, are we going to work towards an annual budget like most functioning organizations, or are we going to continue to have this Band-Aid approach that isn't helping anybody? And he said, I would love to have that, but there doesn't seem to be an interest. I said, but isn't that your job to move that forward as the Speaker of the House? Like, that's something that we have to do because this was the longest shutdown in history. The next one will surpass this, and we can't continue to do this to our people.
House Speaker Johnson says the reason you weren't sworn in is because the government wasn't open. Do you believe that? And should something be done to make sure that something like this never happens again? In other words, a political tug of war doesn't ensnare someone.
So the Speaker of the House is the Speaker of everyone in the House, regardless of party, regardless of political ideology. There was an entire freshman class in 2019 sworn in during a shutdown. So the fact that Congress was closed doesn't make sense. He also swore in two members during a pro forma session. So he could have very easily done that for me before the shutdown. So I don't buy that excuse at all. I don't think anybody did. I thought it was pretty transparent what he was trying to do. And nobody should be able to do that to another duly elected member of Congress again.
There was widespread speculation that the reason that you were delayed, one of them, was because of the vote on the Epstein files. Both parties seem to want to see what's in those files. How much transparency will there actually be for the American people?
I hope that the maximum amount of transparency protecting, obviously, the information of the survivors. I'm concerned because, this administration has done everything they can to obstruct those files from getting out. Speaker Johnson shut down the House and sent everyone home a week before they were scheduled to in order to avoid this vote. The Trump administration brought in members of Congress, representatives, and Republican representatives that have signed on to the discharge petition to try to strong arm them and encourage them to remove their name. And so this shift I'm worried about what is coming next, because this was not something that Trump I know he saw the writing on the wall that this was going to happen and there was going to be a bipartisan support to do this. But I'm worried about what information, if all of it is going to be getting out to the American people.
Congresswoman, this will be your first Thanksgiving without your dad, and our hearts go out to your family. I know it will be tough. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
And to you. Thank you.